If you've ever felt unheard, unseen, or like the wounds from your past still hold you back, you're not alone. This space is for you. Here, we heal, we grow, and we rediscover who we truly are. Beyond the pain, beyond the past. And if you're ready to step into your healing journey and finally embrace your authentic self, hit that subscribe button.
Trauma is one of these words that's, on the one hand, is overused, but promiscuously, and then underused as well. It's overused in the sense that people think that any painful experience is traumatic. You know, I organized a picnic and it rained and I was traumatized. No, you weren't. You were just disappointed. You know? My date didn't show up last night. I was traumatized. No, you weren't traumatized. You were just hurt.
Yeah.
So not everything painful and stressful is traumatic. Everything traumatic is painful and stressful.
Yeah.
But the trauma happens when you're wounded by what happens. If you sustain the blow on the head, that's not the trauma. That's the traumatic event. The trauma is the concussion. So the wound that stays, that's the trauma. And literally, that's the meaning of the word trauma. It's from the Greek word for wounding, or wound.
Okay.
So trauma is not a bad thing that happens. Trauma is a wound that happens, perhaps as a result of that bad thing. And so trauma is the long-term impact. And the long-term impact are basically twofold. One is the ongoing pain, anxiety, distress, lack of self-worth, the belief that you're not good enough. You know, those are some of the direct effects of trauma. Then there's physical effects to trauma. There's physical effects to emotional trauma. People who are traumatized tend to have more inflammation in their bodies. They're more likely to develop various health conditions. So there's that set of impacts. But then there is the defenses that we build up against feeling the pain, which then create more problems. So the one I talk about in my life, it's not the only one, but it's salient. Owing to certain childhood experiences, I have a fear of abandonment. Now, my way of dealing with that in my relationship with my wife is, as soon as there's a kind of a pain or a disappointment, I just withdraw.
Pull back, yeah.
And that withdrawal is a defensive mechanism saying, I'm not going to open myself up again to be hurt by you again. But it also means I'm making the relationship that much colder.
Yeah.
Because now my partner, you know, where is he? So, but that's a defensive mechanism not to feel the pain of abandonment that I couldn't handle when I was an infant. So people build up defenses or denial or repressing emotions. Trauma then shows up basically as a limitation, as a constriction. When you read Eckhart Tolle, you really appreciated his teaching about being in the present moment. And what trauma makes it impossible for people
To be there.
to be in the present. We always react to the past or fearing the future.
Yeah.
And so the being in the present becomes a very difficult challenge. Such a liberation when we can get it, but we're so afraid of it. What did you get back when you recovered?
Your life, your sense of self, your authenticity.
You got back yourself.
Human, yeah.
Okay, which means that yourself, your true life, your true self was never damaged goods. It was never lost.
Yeah.
I mean, you lost sight of it, but it
Yeah.
never disappeared. People say, I'm in recovery. It's used. Look, I don't want to criticize the language because it helps a lot of people to talk that way. But do I believe in it? Do I agree with them? No, I don't. I'm with you. So let me come back at this backwards a little bit. You had many addictions. You were drinking, you had the cocaine, you had the heroin. I don't know what you didn't have.
Yeah.
Tell us what the heroin did for you.
It completely numbed the agitation, it quietened the mind. Everything went soft, is how I'd explain it.
And you talk about a warmth.
Warm. Yeah, a warm.
And safety.
Yeah, like a blanket.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the addiction wasn't your problem. Your problem was the lack of safety, the lack of inner warmth, the lack of a sense of belonging, lack of peace. So my first point about addiction is that it's not a primary problem, it's not a disease, it's actually a solution to a problem.
Yeah.
So the real question is, where did the problem come from? Your parents own drinking, and your terror, you'd sit there at the window while your brothers were sleeping, waiting for your parents to drive home, hoping that they'll make it home alive from their drinking. So terrible fear. And let me ask you this, who did you talk to about those feelings?
Nobody.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That gives us the message that, kid, you're all alone. You're on your own. And that creates coldness,
Yeah.
anxiety, fear. And then the opiate comes along and says, oh, no, Brian, now you're safe.
Yeah.
Now you're warm. A parent and infant are looking into each other's eyes and are really connected. They both have endorphins, natural opiates flowing in their brains.
Okay.
So when the opiate comes along later, the methadone or the heroin that you did, it's giving you what you should have had in the first place.
The feeling that I needed. Yeah.
The feeling you needed, yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
That's your biggest trauma,
Okay.
is how alone you were.
Okay.
So the pain and the fear are not the trauma itself. It's the being alone with it that creates the trauma.
Yeah. I've never looked at it that way before. That's like shit to landing for me, quite heavy, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's difficult to hear.
You were just one representation of a multi-generational family dynamic of trauma and addiction. So to have isolated you out and say, you got this problem, actually the whole family system's got the problem.
Yeah.
So anybody who wants to help somebody else, they need to recognize that they're part of the issue
Yeah.
as much as the identified patient.
The question I get asked from so many people with the work I do is, how can I help my loved one who's struggling with addiction?
Yeah.
And I wish I could bottle up what I have and give it to people.
Yeah.
But I can't. And I don't know what it was, like that shift in perspective, like an awakening perspective shift. I don't know what to call it. How would you see that shift in perspective that happened to me, and that switch where all of a sudden...
I did get the sense reading your book that you had a very dramatic shift. It's like all of a sudden, and it came shortly after your lowest moment. I mean, literally you had a seizure where you bit your tongue, lost a lot of blood, and you ended up, I think, in hospital. And, you know, but then somewhat after that, and even when you're going through physical withdrawal, so that you haven't divested yourself of the physical symptoms, but there was a mental, spiritual shift.
Yeah.
And you found peace inside.
Yeah.
And acceptance. I know that you really appreciate the writing of Eckhart Tolle, and as you describe in your book, he has a very similar experience. He doesn't go through drugs and withdrawal, but he's in deep despondence, and then comes to this dark night of the soul, which ends up with an awakening and a presence and a sense of peace. Some people get that. To tell you the truth, I've never had that kind of experience.
Okay.
And a lot of people that I know haven't had it either, not as dramatically, not as uniquely as you seem to have had. What they do is they come to it piece by piece.
Yeah.
What they do is they come to it gradually over time. You can't give it to anybody else. You can manifest it. People can maybe sense it when you're in your presence, but you can't give it to them. Eckhart Tolle can't give it to them either. They come to it on their own, or they don't.
You say something, I heard it in a recent podcast, I believe, but it's you have to meet people where they are at that time, and hope change comes. And I suppose that's the answer. It's very passive. There's nothing you can do, and I think that's the struggle for many loved ones in addiction, that they have to wait.
I would question the word passive.
Yeah.
What we're talking about is compassion. And compassion requires, first of all, that you care about the other person.
Yeah.
But not just that you care. It has to be more than that. You also have to be curious about their experience. Like, you have to be really interested in them. What's actually happening for you? How did you get here? You have something more as well, which is also not passive, which is, this is probably true for you, it's certainly true for me. Have you ever met any addicted person who was addicted to anything whatsoever, whether it's sex, gambling, shopping, self-cutting, eating, or drugs, in whom you didn't recognize yourself? Yeah, which is what I call the compassion of recognition.
Yeah.
So that means you bring some self-awareness to that engagement with the other person. Those are 3 levels of compassion. They're not passive.
Yeah.
They really require you to be there very actively.
Yeah.
I could give you 2 other levels, but the point is that the compassion that you bring to the other is not a passive quality, I should say. And there's a teacher that I know, whose work I love, who said that only when compassion is present will people allow themselves to see the truth. So that compassion that you are not able to bring to others allows them to see themselves. Because you talked in the book somewhere about a teacher of yours, Michel.
Yeah.
I think it was through him, now I may have got it wrong, that you learned not to reject yourself, to accept yourself.
Accept yourself, yeah.
Yeah. So what is it about her that allowed you to gain self-acceptance? It was her acceptance of you.
Wow.
Meeting you exactly where you were. She didn't judge you.
Yeah. And the real me.
And not only she didn't judge you, she also saw qualities in you that didn't see in yourself.
Yeah.
So she saw you more clearly than
I did.
Than even you saw yourself.
Yeah.
Which is what I call the compassion of possibility. When you look at that other person and you don't mistake them for their demeanor or their dysfunctions or their behaviors or their problems, you see the actual real person there. Now, she saw you before you saw yourself. So then you could see yourself. So that's the 4th level of compassion there. These are very active qualities.
Yeah.
There are 2 dynamics that come to mind. The first one is you have to accept them where they're at.
Yeah.
Look, your family is an example. So if they can actually bring that awareness, then it's not, you're sick and we're healthy and we're going to fix you. But hey, we got a problem here, which your addiction manifests, but we're all part of the problem.
Yeah.
And so we're all committed to healing. It's not just all about you. So that's the first thing. Second thing is not to judge them, but to understand, like, to go back to your heroin addiction. It gave you this warmth, this sense of belonging, this inner peace, really this feeling of love. There's a reason why you needed that from the heroin.
Yeah.
Because you didn't get it when you most needed it, when you were small and vulnerable. Why would I judge you for turning to the heroin for something that you so badly needed? I may not like it that you're on heroin, but I'm not going to judge you for it. You know, I'm going to say, no, this is what he needs to be doing right now to get something that we all need. So non-judgment is the second point. The third point is a little bit more subtle. I'm going to ask you to put your hand out here for a minute. I'm going to push on your hand.
Yeah.
And what do you do as soon as I push on you?
Push back.
You push back. Don't push these people.
Okay.
All you're going to get is resistance. All you're going to get is resistance. So for every force in nature, there's an equal and opposite counterforce. And so this is an automatic resistance to being coerced.
Yeah.
Whether you try and cajole or convince or threaten or beg or manipulate somebody into the right behavior, what you're going to get is the resistance.
Yeah.
Even though you want to go in the right direction, and even though you're coming from a sense of concern and love, if they sense the coercion, that's what you're going to get. So drop it. When I talk to families of addicts or loved ones, I say, look, you have 3 options. 2 of them are sane, 1 is insane. Unfortunately, it's the insane one that people most usually engage in. What is sane is to say to the person, you got this habit. I'm sure there's reasons in your life where you feel at this point that this is how the way where you need to go. I don't like it because I see that it's causing you harm, but it's your life and I'm here for you.
Yeah.
Okay? That's one. That's sane.
Yeah.
It's also sane to say, you got this habit. I'm not going to judge you for it. You're doing it for your own reasons, but it's too painful for me. I can't handle it. I can't be around it. So as long as you're in it, I'm going to have to separate myself.
Yeah.
That's also perfectly sane. It's loving. What's insane is you got this habit. I'm gonna be in your life, trying to cajole you, change you, influence you, force you, coerce you. That's called codependency.
Yeah.
And that just creates resistance and resentment and doesn't get you anywhere. So those are the three options. Two of them are sane, and the common one is people trying desperately to change that person without understanding the context. Engagement in any behavior that a person finds temporary pleasure or relief in, and therefore craves, but then suffers negative consequences as a result of, and doesn't give up despite the negative consequence. So pleasure, craving, relief in the short term, harm in the long term, inability to give it up. So, if somebody finds themselves drinking so much that is not good for them, then they have to ask, what's it doing for you?
Yeah.
I don't know that drinking a glass of wine will make you an alcoholic. I mean, look, let me ask you a question. Have you ever eaten food in your life? Is food addictive, by the way, I'm asking you?
Can be.
Well, that's a canny answer.
I would say yes.
Have you ever eaten in your life?
Yes.
Are you a food addict?
No.
Then food is not addictive.
Yeah.
But your first answer was right.
Yeah.
It can be, depending
on
what it's doing for you. In other words, what the hole is inside.
Yeah.
So when you say positive emotions, no, those people have a hole inside them.
Yeah.
They may not realize it.
But it's there.
But it's there, yeah. It's not the wanting that's the issue, it's what do we do with the wanting.
Okay.
And what we're really talking about is the difference between pleasure and contentment. Because pleasure says, this is good, I want more. Contentment says, I have enough.
Yeah.
They're actually modulated by different brain chemicals. Pleasure is very much the endorphins, the opiates, and the dopamine that you talk about.
Yeah.
Contentment is more the serotonin. You know? And in this society, so much is organized and planned to excite people's pleasure centers.
Yeah.
Very few people are contented, and everybody's seeking pleasure. So the fact that you have something pleasurable and you want more, nothing wrong with that. But if it makes you behave in ways that causes harm, that's when it becomes a problem. So it's not pleasure as such, but a relationship to it.
It brings me to your amazing book, The Myth of the Normal, like the way you describe a culture, like a culture in a petri dish, and if it gets contaminated, like we're living in a culture. Do you think, if I think of the food industry, the tech industry, they are tapping into our evolutionary instincts as well. They are creating a space where we want more and more and more. Could you describe a little bit about how you see the world in terms of...
Well, do you know any other animal that willfully destroys its own habitat?
No.
Yeah, I mean, we are doing it.
Yeah.
You know, and why? Because of this more.
Yeah.
Somebody wants more profit.
Yeah.
Somebody wants more wealth. More power. More control. And they don't care what it does. They literally don't. That more dynamic has taken over. And so much of the culture is built around it. Like, we have to have more, the economy has to keep growing all the time. If you have this much pleasure, you need more pleasure. The cell phones are designed to addict you, so you want more and more of them. They're literally designed that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's I mean, talk about drug pushers.
Yeah, literally.
they designed, you know, the food companies, I'm not making this up, they do, it's been researched. They hire the best scientists, including neuroscientists, to figure out what combination of sugar, salt, and fat will most likely hook into the addiction-prone circuits in your brain.
Yeah.
Literally, they're pushing. And what's sugar doing to our system? The epidemic of obesity. In the UK, more and more kids are obese. Diabetes is becoming a huge problem. Now, of course, they come up with a new drug, Ozempic, that fights or mitigates the effects of the addictive patterns that this society has literally forced on so many people. And it never ends. So that there's more. Somebody wrote a book some years ago, I forget her name, but very astute little volume. It was called When Society is an Addict. And literally that's what we have.
Healing takes time, and you don't have to do it alone. If this message resonated with you, know that your journey matters. Be gentle with yourself. Keep exploring and surround yourself with support. If you haven't yet, subscribe and join this community. We're in this together. And before you go, comment, "I am healing to affirm your growth. You are seen. You are valued, and you are not alone."